people need something fixed, who they call? They call the police, right?
Yeah.
When the police need something fixed, who do they call?
SWAT.
They call SWAT. So, you
Da
and
da
I,
da 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 da.
didn't we go watch that as a training day one day? But you and I are both big believers in that. And one of the last big missions that I had, I'm not really going to use a lot of names because it's still about 3, maybe 4 years out. But it kind of goes into a discipline. Talking about discipline to stay in the fight and to continue doing what needs to be done. Had this investigation going on. Our CID ended up working a case. Really call it a kidnapping case if you want, but it was the wife was held, for lack of a better term, held hostage basically all night long. And when she finally got away, came in, the investigation was done, felony warrants were cut. And we knew how that was going to go.
Right.
You know, it's one of those situations where you can't sit there and we're dealing with a guy who, you know, for lack of a better term, he's a sovereign citizen. He's got anti-government beliefs. He's dealing with some thought processes that you and I would call, you know, not normal.
Right.
A lot of long guns, a lot of threats towards government agencies, and we even had one threat towards, I want to say it was state AB, not ABI, but SBI at the time. Or now, and we had a lot of intel on this guy, and we knew what we were going to be dealing with. You and I both agree it's safe to say we can't just let it go. We got to do our job. You know, you had arrest warrants there. We've got to go effect these arrests. And we're trying to come up with the absolute best way we can do this where we don't create a situation.
No.
So we got set up. We were going to put guys in the woods, put eyeballs on it, watch it. And then we're going to try to call this guy down.
Surround and call out.
Yeah, basically call him out. We knew there were no kids there. The kids were at school. We knew we had the wife with us. She's safe. We knew where he was, so we knew we could contain it. And sure enough, things went south. You know, I was one of the ones that was actually, I was the team leader for that. But I was, you know, our team being small, we had a 3-man observation element that we put in about a mile away, and we walked into the location. This was very rural, and got set up on point, watching the house. I had the back of the house. I had a perfect vantage point of his entry and exit where he goes, and had the takedown team ready to go. It was I think we had a 6-man element in that. Long story short, the guy comes out, right? We've been trying to make contact with him, going on, and I guess he got antsy basically about why his kids weren't home yet from school. So
He smelled a rat.
he did. I see him come out the back. All right. Now I'm looking at him through my rifle, the optic on my rifle. And when I see him come out the back, he's got a rifle in his hand. All right. Now he hasn't seen us yet.
Right.
But he's actively looking for us. So as he's actively looking for us, he starts walking in my direction.
You're hoping your camouflage is good enough.
Yeah, exactly at that point, because I really don't want to shoot this guy.
Right.
You know,
It's not the goal.
it's not the goal. If I have to, I will. I don't want to shoot this guy. But he's got a rifle, scoped rifle, propped up on his shoulder, and he's walking actively looking. You know, you can tell he's scanning the wood line. And to this day, I don't know what gave him away. What we believe gave us away was I had one guy that was roaming between positions, and he was trying to get set up to he could link up with the takedown team when they got in the right spot. We think that's what gave us away was him. And I might have been 50 yards from the back of the house. My position was probably about 50 yards, if that, from his door. When he comes out, he's got a tactical vest on, rifle slung on his shoulder. I didn't see the pistol in his hand at that point, but as soon as he starts walking to me, I mean, he's closing that gap, right? And I'm sitting there thinking, well, this might be it. You know, I don't want to do this, but this may be it. And next thing I know, he turns and goes behind one of the vehicles. So I lose sight of him. You know, at that point, I can't see him anymore. Next thing I hear, crack of a gun. Now he's shooting over our heads, and he's, you know, firing, you know, around. So I'm automatically on my comms. I'm like, hey, we got shots fired. Move in at this point. And it's just one of those things that, you know, here's where that discipline comes in. You've been there what happens to that pucker factor about that time?
Yeah. What was he doing? Recon by fire?
All we heard, because I couldn't see him.
Right.
My other marksman was about 10 yards from me in the only position that he could get in. He actually saw him point the weapon up and fire, and then he starts yelling, come out, wherever you are. So I don't know what he was doing. If he was trying to get us to expose ourselves, obviously that's what he was trying to do. But I lost sight of him, and then my other guy loses sight of him. And we're like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? You know, because at that point, obviously he's willing to fire a weapon, right?
Right.
The only thing I could think was there was a building off to my left. He's gone behind this building. So I repositioned myself, and I had already made the decision. Yep, if he steps out, it's done. I'm going to have to take him. There's no way around it. Fortunately, that didn't happen, fortunately for me. And the next thing I see is I catch him out of the corner of my eye going back to the house. So when I do, I reposition back over, and I catch him going inside. And by this time, I've already got on the comms, and shots fired, move in, and we did. Team comes in. Well, that starts the barricade.
Right.
Oh, and things went south from there. You've been on those, 16 hours. It was about what we had.
Yeah, I remember this incident.
Yeah, I think I told you about this one. I'm pretty sure I told you about this. But ultimately, as things rocked on, man, we had to deliver gas. You set up those gas plans. We're trying to get the guy out. We don't want to hurt this guy. I really don't. It's the last thing we want to do. And everything culminating from all of that to that final end point where at that point my guys had been on station. We're hitting, the entirety of the whole event. I was like, my guys got to take a break.
You need some relief.
Yeah, they need to take a break. We had 3 TAC teams there to include the state, Houston County. And so I tell my guys, hey, state, can you guys take over point? I got to give my guys a break. Just pulled them out, told them, I said, I want you to de-kit. I want you to get off your feet. I want you to take a break. We don't know how long this is going to last. Because he had barricaded himself. What he was doing is he was taking milk, soaking towels in milk, and using that to keep the gas from affecting him.
Put it under the doors and windows.
Yeah. And this guy I personally think he'd been planning something like this for a long time. But anyway, so we weren't off our feet, 5 minutes. Next thing I hear is one of the other guys had moved up in position, one of the higher ranking guys with the county that I was with. He was making contact with him, and none of us knew it, right? We had no idea what was going on. So I looked up over the one of the armored vehicles, and sure enough, there he stands. He's not 10 feet from the guy. The guy's on the porch. Our guy's down at the base of the porch, and they're talking. And the bad point thing is our guy doesn't have a vest on. I'm like, what? We got to get back in place. We got to get ready to go because this is about to go south. Discipline played big into that at that point because we were all ready to. We wanted this to be over, man.
Yeah.
And at that point, you got to.
What time of year was it?
Oh man, what time of year was that? It was still hot.
Yeah.
It was still hot.
That's definitely a factor.
We're worn out. The guys are hungry. They're thirsty. We've been in, and not just our team, but Houston County's team was there too. And
the helmet and the vest on.
All this heavy gear, and by that point I had come out of my, once it rolled into he was inside, I had come out of I had donned my heavy gear at that point because I was going to go back into the role of an entry guy. And, still trying to play the role of the team leader too. You know how that is. Yeah. You have to do that. And so discipline played into all that. And I got guys that hey, we got to do something. We got to push this. I said, no, we got to be disciplined enough to sit there and let our negotiators talk, and let's try to talk this down. But man, when he walked up there, I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? We had no comms with him. We had no nothing. And knowing full well what his intentions were. We're trying to bring this to a close. Trying to bring it to a close safely. And this story stands out because, nowhere near is the outcome that we wanted. Ultimately, the guy ends up firing. And unfortunately, we all end up moving in, and the guy lost his life.
Right.
We hated that happened that way, but it did. And we tried everything that we could, man, to keep that from happening. You know, and I don't know, that story just stands out the whole time, you know, as one of the most recent. You know, I know we're going to do a lot of these. The discipline level for those guys that were all there, though, it really showed a lot of. I mean, we could have easily went up there and, you know, kicked the door in and,
Well, you could have,
you know, let the chips fall where they fall.
Well, you could have shot the guy when he originally fired the rounds. When
Yeah,
you didn't really know what his intentions were. Was he just firing in the air? You know, whatever the case may be.
You know, that thought went through my mind because as soon as he steps out, you know, he's got the rifle. Yes, he's got the rifle. He's walking towards my position. He's literally, I don't know if he's seen me or not. I didn't think so.
Right.
And I had the drop on him, man.
Yeah.
100%. No, we're recording. We're still recording. We're almost done. Thomas, edit that. No, he's walking towards me. He's still got, you know, he's got this gun. He's walking in my direction. You wanted to talk about discipline. We you know, we want to bring that up a little bit. There's a lot of discipline that went into that, man, because you know how you've been in those positions. I'm going to tell you, I was a trigger press away, and I was thinking, I got to do this. But he never pulled the gun off his shoulder. He didn't. He never pulled the gun off his shoulder, and he didn't fire until he was out of my line of sight.
Right.
Now, you know, there's so many things that went into your head, and there was just a high level of discipline demonstrated by everybody that was out there that day. You know, and I would tell this story to people that, you know, say cops are just out to do one thing. We weren't. We only wanted one outcome to that, and that was for him to give up.
Yeah. Peaceful.
You know, we didn't want to hurt him. He forced our hand, and we had no other choice. You know,
A lot of times, well, 99.9% of the time, the suspect or the barricaded gunman or the criminal, they are going to dictate what the outcome is. And it's just like I used to tell the press about pursuits. You know, I said, you know, they say, why did y'all initiate this pursuit? Law enforcement initiates traffic stops. Suspects initiate pursuits.
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You know, that's what I always used to tell the media.